I'm here at Biohacking Congress Miami with Reed Davis, the founder of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. We've got over 30 experts here, amazing experts on biohacking, health, and longevity. We've got over 30 expo vendors here. It's an amazing experience. If you guys weren't able to come to this one, highly recommend checking out their next one. It's going to be in Austin in February, so check that out. Reed, all right.
All right.
Let's get nerdy. You ready?
What are you going to talk about?
All right. So first, I wanted to talk about, I want people to hear your message of metabolic chaos. I love this because I find that in the health field, even in holistic health, we can get into almost the same energy as Western medicine, even though we kind of don't want to admit it. It's like, oh, you have this thing, so your vitamin D was low, and like that's it. Take this supplement, and like the problem solved without looking at it holistically. And I know you guys do it really different. So could you talk about the concept of metabolic chaos and why you call it that?
Yeah, thanks. So, I mean, I could go way back and tell you where this came from, but in short, most Western medicine is based on reductionism. And like you said, even functional medicine, they're bound by the same licensure requirements, standard of care and rules and insurance payments, all that stuff. So even though they're practicing functional medicine, they're supposed to get at the underlying causes. They can only go so far upstream before they get cut off, and their standard of care is like, well, I have to diagnose and treat you for something. So they're going to pick something. They're going to pick thyroid, low thyroid, or irritable bowel, or whatever it is. So in our world, which is more holistic, we want to take the bigger, broader approach. And oh, by the way, we're not bound by any of those standard of care because we're not licensed practitioners. We really just have one concern. What's the underlying causes and conditions? Now, long history of looking for the root cause. So I ran lab after lab after lab. Matter of fact, I ran over 10,000 labs on thousands of people, looking for that elusive root cause. What I figured out is that you're not always going to find it. For one thing, it's really tricky. It can be way upstream from where the symptoms are occurring. So you think, oh, these symptoms, it must be a parasite. No, no parasite. Oh, it must be this. Oh, no, it wasn't that either. So what we learn to do is look way upstream for a whole constellation of healing opportunities. So, and then what do you find? Metabolic chaos. It's the only thing you can call it. It's all these dysfunctions within the hormone system, the immune system. There's digestion. Oh, how about detoxification? Energy production on a cellular level. You have nervous system balance, autonomic, sympathetic. So when you have all of those things, and all or many have imbalances and things that need to be corrected. In other words, these are healing opportunities. What are you going to diagnose that? It's just metabolic chaos. It just, that's what it is. And so when you say look for the root cause, that's a good thing to have in your mind. You're looking, and you might find something right there, sitting there that, oh, that was caused by, but more likely in chronic degenerative downward spiraling conditions, what people are showing up with, they're showing up with chronic fatigue and irritable bowel, so they have all these things. Fibromyalgia was very popular when I first started. And so you got multiple complaints, overweight and can't lose it, and they're constipated and they feel sad, and you just on and on and on. How are you going to pick one lab? You can't. So I would also have to explain that I didn't figure this out overnight. It took 10 years running thousands of labs on thousands of people. And I had great mentors, but I also was good at recognizing patterns. And all the women coming in our office were getting well on the system. Wow, this is really working. Can I bring my husband? Can I bring my kids? And so we figured this is just how things work.
And I love how you talk about having the basics in place, right? Like having a lifestyle that's leading to health, but also not neglecting the fact that, hey, there might be something actionable that we can find through doing some lab testing. Can you talk about how you balance that in terms of like, because obviously if somebody is never exercising, sleeping horribly, has toxic relationships, has horrible self-talk, all of these things, drinking soda all day, and it's like, well, we can raise your vitamin D, but like, how do you balance the lifestyle and the diagnostic testing? You know what I mean? How does that work for the person?
That's a really good question, and I'm just pondering as you were putting it together there, the people have to want
Yeah.
So you're looking really for health seekers,
Yeah.
and not everyone is, unfortunately.
Right.
I go back even further to like, well, who should be in control of your health? You?
Yes.
Or the TV? Or the doctor?
Right.
Or the university? Or the hospital? Who should be in control of one's health is that person, me.
Right.
I want to be in control of mine. That's what got me into business in the first place.
Yeah.
And so there's a mental, emotional component there of
Right.
recognizing that, hey, you know what, this isn't normal. You go to a physician and you might get told it is normal. You know, they run a test, they go, oh, your blood work looks
Right.
fine, here's your chill pill.
This is your
Or,
normal.
You know, go do some diet and exercise.
Right. Right.
You know, and then, well, which diet? That one didn't work, and that one didn't work, and that one didn't work. And exercise hurts, and I got injured, and, you know, my personal trainer pushed me to, you know, whatever. So there's different strokes for different folks.
Totally.
The most important tenet of what we do is probably biochemical individuality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a heavy duty responsibility to say, I think I can help you.
Yeah.
And you have to mean you,
Right.
this one person. Not I can help the population, because no one person is that population. Everybody's an individual. All medicine is basically studied on a cohort. In other words, we tested 10,000, 50,000, or 50 people, and we found blah, 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 blah. This is kind of like going to help them, generally speaking, you know, or
Right.
like it helped the cohort to some degree. And it doesn't have to be much of a degree to become an approved treatment or medication or something like that. It doesn't have to help everybody in the cohort.
Right.
Just enough of the cohort that, well, you know, generally speaking, you're better off with this medication than not. Bullshit. You know, it could kill you. And they tell you on TV, may cause heartburn, diarrhea, indigestion, bloating, gas.
Death.
You know, bad skin, achy
Right.
joints, which is what you're taking it for in the first place,
I
by the way.
know.
And migraine headaches and on and on. So,
yeah. Suicidal tendencies.
so there's no such thing in our world as treating a cohort. It's a biochemically individual person, you know, and that's the hard part.
Okay, I gotta ask you your take on this because, like, I so relate. I have never coached two people exactly the same. Like,
Never will.
Yeah, it's nonsensical, and so I'm curious your thoughts on this because I hear a lot of theory being preached to the masses on social media. This is the way all people should eat. This is the way. This is the best way to exercise. This is the best way. Everyone needs magnesium, or everyone needs this, you know. And I'm just, and it's. I think it's a confusing world for people because they listen to a podcast like this, and somebody just in a very nuanced way drops how important vitamin D or zinc or something like that is. And that person, this isn't their life's work. They have their own career, and they're like, okay, yeah, vitamin D, like I heard that specialist say that's really important. I guess I'll just start taking that, you know? I'm just curious your thoughts on, like, general recommendations on supplements or, you know, like, based, because you're all lab-based. Just tell me your thoughts
I
on
can
all that.
speak to the issue, which is diet and supplementation and those kind of things. The truth claims being made by manufacturers or representatives, salespeople, clerks in stores. You have people saying, you know, this is good for this.
Right.
And you go, oh, I have that, I should buy. And then this is good for this. Well, I've got that too. You know, I have a heart, I have lungs, liver, pancreas, adrenals, ovaries, or testes. No one has both, thank God. But you know what I mean, like, anyway. So, you know, we're all different. And yes, we all have these needs, but they're so individually determined by genetics. Let me explain, if I could. So, if that's true, that this is good for everybody, then it would be good for an Eskimo, and it would be good for a Quechua Indian from the Andes Mountains. And it would also be good for a Bantu native tribesman in the middle of Africa. Well, that's completely untrue. We know that the same thing that this one eats it poisons that one. Bantu are a tribe in Africa who, if you go there now and look, they look perfectly healthy, tall, radiating health, good skin, clear teeth, and they know their stuff. They have a lot of tribal traditions. They're healthy, they're happy, they sing and dance and hunt and fish and all this different stuff. They gather, right? So, but their diet, and by the way, they are very fertile people. You know, they're losing tribes people from moving out of the situation. You know, modernized. That's why they move out, not because they can't reproduce and sustain a tribe.
Yeah.
Now, if you take those people and put them on with the Quechuan Indians in the Andes Mountains, who eat what? Potatoes, corn.
Yeah.
Completely different diet. They're living at 10,000 feet. They're living at sea level. You got all these factors. The soils, meaning the chemicals in the soils, the vitamins, the minerals, the essential fatty acids, trace elements, the phytonutrients, things that are in those plants and in the animals that eat those plants, and just in the dirt and everything. That's what's bred into their bone over 200,000 years.
Right.
No, that's different combination of those micronutrients. That's what the Quechuan Indians in the Andes, different soil, different climate, different
microbiome.
and what's in the plants,
Right.
and are in different. They're the same things: vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and so on, but they're different proportions.
Right.
The other thing that changes is the amount of protein, fat, and carbs. So what we determine these requirements on, to answer your question, and I'm sorry a long-winded way.
I love it.
Is that we have different macronutrient ratios, amount of protein, fat, and carb, and different ones. Which proteins, fats, and carbs from where? You know, and do they have all those trace elements and phytonutrients indigenous to my ancient ancestors? Because that's what's bred into my genes and my bones. And so that's pretty hard to figure out. Well, which one? So believe it or not, there's a way. We send people to mtdiet.com, but you know, we respect that biochemical individuality.
Yeah.
And that's first and foremost, I think, critical to what we do.
And I so respect that and appreciate that, because sometimes I'm very tell it like it is. When I see people this is how everyone should be eating, my immediate thought was, you don't work with people one-on-one, do you? Because you would have gotten your butt handed to you so many times. Like you find out, and I love that you say this. I love that you say, I don't know if I can help you. Let me see if I can help you. That's so amazing, because it's just incredibly true. And I think it comes through years, decades plus of like trying things and finding out, wow, that didn't actually help that person. I thought I've had that happen too. I'm like, I've got it figured out for this condition. I've got it figured out and then it doesn't work on somebody. I'm like, dang it, I don't have it figured out, you know. And so there is so much bio-individuality. You know, somebody might have candida and not know it, and somebody's like, yep, you should eat a high-carb diet, and they're like just feeding their candida, like, you know. So there's so much individuality on what we need.
There is, and it's interesting. But as a practitioner, I started in the late '90s, not knowing anything.
Yeah.
The good news of that is I didn't have to unlearn something. You know, like a system that someone else. So I got to go into a clinic. No one gets this opportunity, and my job was to help people. And I think I've told you this before. The first thing I noticed is they all tried everything. They already tried everything. So what's this guy gonna do? And I luckily just stumbled on the lab work. So I started, instead of guessing or saying, well, have you tried the Atkins diet? That was really big back then. And I would say, well, let me get some biochemical markers. Let me get some indicators of how healthy you are, whether you are digesting food properly or not, whether your liver's congested or not, whether your hormones are out of balance or in balance, and so on and so on. So I learned to use all these markers. And I was getting people to do more natural things, take control, like go to bed on time and exercise. And, you know, I struggled with diet for a while until I came onto metabolic typing. And that's when I learned about that macronutrient ratio is different and that you better dial it in. If you get that dialed in, you're going to produce energy, on a cellular level at the right rate, quality, quantity. And guess what? Cells don't need to be taught what their job is. They have an innate intelligence that knows I know what my job is. Just feed me right, please. Let me produce fuel so that I can do my job. It knows if it's an adrenal cell or testicle cell, or brain cell or muscle cell, skin cells. And so that's the beauty of working with the innate intelligence, is that we just want to coach up function. This is a common saying in my tribe. Coach up function, nurture, working on getting things to be balanced. Remember, we've got the data, we've got the measurements. While we coach down the contributors to metabolic chaos, the bad environment, the bad food, the bad people around you, the chemicals, and even things your own body makes can be very distressful to the body. So coach up function, coach down contributors to metabolic chaos, and guess what? Let the chips fall where they may, because you trust that innate intelligence.
Yes.
And the only place that it doesn't work is if they have a real, honest to goodness, true medical condition, like cancer or something.
Right.
And in which case, I'm fine being the junior partner to some oncologist that wants to treat that or cut that thing out. Well, we're trying to work on everything else around the edges. And sometimes, when you work around the edges long enough, that thing still kind of disappears, goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you're talking about, innate intelligence. I'm very, I'd say, tapped into that, and I trust it. And it's almost been a playful thing. I'm like, I might be just making stuff up, or this could be real. So in my meditative practice, I ask my body what it needs almost every single day. And I'll hear all sorts of things, and I'm like, okay, and I'll just entertain it and just try it. And it's been amazing. I've had, I was getting some low mood in the middle of winter one time, and I heard B vitamins, and I'm like, I'm probably just making stuff up, but I'm just gonna play with it and see. And wow, like I needed those, and when I'm sick, sometimes I'm like, okay, what do you guys need? Because like what I could just be being playful, making things up, but I hear this like, we know how we work, us immune cells and your bodies, and like, we know you don't totally know how we work, so if you could just listen to what we're trying to tell you, that would be awesome. So water, sleep, go for a walk, blow the snot out of your nose, sleep, and it's that, to me, is like that innate intelligence that you're talking about. And as we ask, and I think that's why we have to have a relationship with our bodies. Like, I look at my body as like little sentient beings, all these little millions, trillions of, and talking to me in a, not psycho way, but it really, though, it is talking to us and saying, hey, like, you're tired. Oh, okay. I'm gonna listen to that and like not be like, oh, body, why are you tired, right? And so I'm curious how much you see this, because I say often, I feel like sometimes I give people scientific reasons that their intuition was right, or giving them permission to like sleep. Like, it's okay that your body's asking for 10 hours of sleep. Let's listen to that,
Right.
And have you run into any of that kind of thing in your line of work where
Which part of what you said?
where people are kind of like denying or not listening to what their body's trying to tell them?
Yes, of course. So I think we mentioned already that some level of self-awareness and understanding that this ain't normal. Even though you've been told the blood work looks normal.
Accepting
if
that.
you think it's not normal, probably not, excuse me. And so I'm a systems guy. So I can't address it from every angle. And there's here at this conference, there's 30 different biohackers. I don't know which one's going to help me.
Right.
I don't have a lot of health problems, but I'd like to have a lot of longevity and anti-aging, and not. And so I'm always looking for edges and angles and levers and things I can use. But the only way I would know for sure is looking at our lab work, because no symptoms. It's actually a dangerous state. It's like, I feel fine. Bam! All of a sudden you got cancer or a fatal heart attack or a heart attack, some kind of... So you can feel fine and not be fine. That's why the biomarkers are important.
Check in.
So I'm not... So the way I put it at a lecture I did this morning was that, there's a gap between unwell and well. Sick and not sick. And our practitioners that I teach, we get people, help them get from sick to not sick. Now here at a biohacker convention, you get plenty of people who are not sick. they don't want to go from sick to not sick. They want to go from not sick to superhuman. You know, oh, you can live to be 180, maybe 120. I've read a book that I kind of believe, like maybe, not that anyone wants to, they say, you know, but so the difference between sick and not sick is a huge gap.
Yeah.
And the difference between not sick and superhuman, which we all would like, is also a big gap. But the tools, I would contend, are the same tools to get there. And it's paying attention, and it's living clean and right. And I have the DRESS protocol for that, the DRESS, which is diet, metabolic type, the rest, sleep, and rest your body, and rest your emotions and things, get all the juices flowing. Exercise, of course, goes without saying. Sitting is the new smoking. The 2 S's in DRESS is stress reduction and supplementation. And I will, until I find something better, continue to harp on that and preach that, if you will. We've been teaching practitioners around the world. We have over 4,000 in 50 countries who have learned, get the data, the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, you know, the hidden acronym I gave you on what to look for, and then apply the general principles of health building. And this is something I'm known for saying. The general principles of health building will outperform specific treatments. Because specific treatment is, you know, a physician or practitioner might run a test based on what it sounds like. Sounds like thyroid. So, sounds like thyroid. You know, there's a cluster of symptoms that's fairly reliable, and it sounds like thyroid. You know, run a thyroid test. Boy, I'm smart. It's your thyroid. Here's your medication. Don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna get those numbers on the paper where we want them. Well, that's treating the paper. That's not treating the whole person. And the minute you diagnose and treat specifics, you're leaving all this other stuff off the table. We don't leave anything off the table that we could handle and to make discoveries about, so we can outperform the specific treatment model.
Yeah, because everything you just discussed in that DRESS principle acronym is, I mean, for me, what I see, I mean, there's a lot of things that can lead to hypothyroidism, but generally speaking, I've had a lot of hypothyroid clients, and they're almost always stressed to the max, and then they start over-exercising because they've gained a bunch of weight, so now they're stressing even more, they're dieting, they're like starving themselves, so it's more stress, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and so as we, like, that's the scariest thing in the world, I think, for a hypothyroid client, is to be like, we gotta ease up, we gotta sleep a whole bunch, and we gotta take the stress off, and we gotta, you know, you can exercise but not high intensity interval training for 2.5 hours, like, we gotta calm, you know, and everything that you said to me in that DRESS acronym covers, like, what leads to healing from something like that. Pretty much, you know, maybe there's some toxins or gut issues, some things you can address, but...
You're right. People come up with things to add to the DRESS program. What about this, that? Usually they'll fall under some kind of stress reduction. So what isn't diet or rest or exercise or supplements, you can kind of categorize as, well, it's a stressor, it's toxins, they're a stressor. The foods you're sensitive to, that's a stressor.
Or nutrient deficiency.
Cover this. And so, but mental, emotional. Our job is to overcome the obstacles to healing. Something's preventing you from healing, right? We know the body wants to be healthy, the cells have an intelligence. What's the obstacle to healing? It could be a number of things. You mentioned deficiencies. I've studied the environment thoroughly. But even things locked in the mind and emotions of the person, like they just don't believe enough that any of this stuff matters, and that life doesn't matter, and they have no purpose, and they just don't seem to be motivated, and that's pretty hard to deal with, actually. We started with, you gotta be a seeker.
Okay, supplements, because you do have a background in the environment.
I know a few things.
And I just went out and actually toured a regenerative farm out in Ohio, where they have a lab on their actual farm where they're testing the mineral content of their plants. They started out with chefs. They were just trying to make good tasting plants for chefs. They won't, and in the process of making excellent tasting vegetables, of course they became more nutrient dense, and it pushed them into high quality soils, right? So they're all about soil health, and I hear people say, and I'm sure you do too, oh, now I have to to take supplements. Do I really need to take supplements? And I kind of went on this little tangent myself for a little while. I was a supplement person, and then I was like, I can get everything I need through food. And then I was like, and then I got back on my supplements that I've tested for and know that I need, and I was like, I'm never stopping. And I looked at I did a tour of the lab, and they bought vegetables from the grocery store, and then they compared the mineral content of theirs. And when I looked at the mineral content, like the sodium was really low. 2 of them had no selenium at all. It didn't even show up, and it was dramatically lower on all sorts of minerals in these plants. And so I was wondering if you could speak on, do people need to supplement in terms of,
Yes.
organic? Can I just eat organic, nutrient-dense variety foods and get everything I need? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that the organic foods are great because you can avoid herbicides and pesticides and insecticides and rodenticides and all the crap that they put on food and in the processing. So that's why you eat organic. But does it have any more minerals than the next food? It doesn't. That's not a qualifier for organic. Organic just means pesticide free, basically, chemical free.
Right.
Now, if they've also been using manure, like my brother and I, we were required by my grandfather every weekend to go to the neighbor's farm, clean out their horse stalls, bring that horse stuff back, mix it into his compost pile, so that we were growing our vegetables in rich, nutrient-dense, and he knew all about the nitrogen and the potassium and the different things and the pH levels and stuff like that. So I think we ate really nutrient-dense foods, probably good for our metabolic type. I mean, we're basically English, Irish, and we were living in Canada and eating. I think they're similar enough, but I don't know if so that's a basis. Like, you've got to assume that organic means pesticide free. That's a good place to start.
Right.
As to whether it's actually got all the minerals and vitamins and essential fatty acids and phytonutrients and trace elements and antioxidants in it.
Right.
I don't know. You without the testing and getting a really good variety of food together, it's pretty hard to tell these days. And so we do the best that we can. My wife and I grow our own vegetables, and I do check. I do put minerals into the water because I'm growing them hydroponically, so I can control the water with the minerals and the pH levels. You can bring the pH down. And, man, are they good tasting?
Yeah.
Those tomatoes taste like granddad's potatoes. I mean tomatoes, because the ones in the store aren't tasting that way.
Oh my gosh, when I went to this regenerative farm, they had this plate of all these heirloom little tomatoes, and they had salt for me, which I normally love salt on my tomatoes, but as I ate one of the tomatoes, I was like, it was like the saltiest tomato I had ever had. I was like, there's no way I would need to add salt to it. It was like pretty acidic, actually, but in a good way, and it was eye-opening for me. I was like, wow, like, this is how they're supposed to taste? Okay, got it. It actually kind of made me sad because they gave me this huge box of food, and I was in this little, condo where they had, I could cook it all, but they were so flavorful. It made me sad because I was like, no wonder people don't like vegetables, because they don't even taste like they're supposed to, because they don't have the right mineral content, the right nutrient density, Well,
I was just going to say, tomato's actually a fruit. It's not a vegetable.
Yeah.
And when you grow it right with the right minerals and pH levels in the water, things like that, it tastes like a fruit. It's as good as eating a little cherry or apple, or it's sweet, it's delicious, it's good, flavorful. So it's amazing.
The last thing I wanted to ask you was, like, I know it's probably you're gonna say it depends, but I thought I'd ask you.
It depends.
If you had to pick, like, these are lab tests that, like, you really should check in on in yourself, and you had to just pick, like, top tests, what would you say? I know it depends on what the problem is, and I get it, but big hitters.
Hormone test for sure, because with the amount of stress we're under today, you can test your stress hormones. So that's really critical.
Yeah.
But the stress hormones are, and especially cortisol and DHEA being out of balance, is going to lead to a lowered immune system. So you want to check at least your secretory IgA. That's the main defense mechanism in the gut, and the gut's most of your defense mechanism. So the hormone, secretory IgA, I would look for dysbiosis.
With a stool analysis?
No, that would be urine.
Okay.
And so then liver congestion, urine. Excessive oxidative stress, urine. By the way, these are tests you do at home. They're not expensive, and anyone can run them. And remember what I said: if you want to be in control of your health, get the data and get it yourself. So if you don't know how to get the labs done, come to an FDN practitioner. We'll get it done for you. I would look for other things, of course, leaky gut, the function of the gut. There's markers. I won't go through the names because they just confuse people. But also bugs, pathology, parasites, bacteria, funguses, viruses. And last but not least, I would never leave it out of a comprehensive testing, would be food sensitivities. Because everyone has some. If you're eating them, you're basically creating metabolic chaos.
Right. Okay, those are your big hitters. Reed, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you've